Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining me. Happy Friday to each and every one of you joining me today. I hope you've had a wonderful week, and of course wishing that you have an even better weekend. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you're in Auckland Unified, I know I've been saying this all week, your summer break begins now. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you remain relaxed, and I hope you're able to re-energize from this tough year that we've had, and you've gone through, you've made it. So absolute pats on your back to each and every one of you. The parents, the core teachers out there, you've been amazing. Wonderful job from you. And to the kids as well, amazing, resilient. Thank you so much for doing your part. Thank you for being here with me today. Happy Friday indeed. As you have seen, we have special guests joining us today. We will be learning a little bit more about parenting and talking together with Victor Chavez and of course Amanda Wortman. Yes, so thank you so much for joining in today, and later on I will be bringing them on so they can say hello and we can get chatting. Thank you so much for being here. As always, please let me know where you're joining in from and who is joining in with you. And of course, if you're joining in alone, you're still welcome. Story time is for you, the young and the young at heart. Good morning to you. Let us see who is with us this morning, joining us for story time. How are you doing? Good morning to you, Carrie, and of course Lomani Lee joining us out in Sacramento. And you say it's hot here in Sacramento. Well, I hope you have your cool drink. I hope you're in a nice place and ready to enjoy some story time. Thank you for sharing that weather update with us. Good morning to you one more time, Carrie and Lomani Lee in Sacramento. How are you doing today? And you say good morning to you, and of course the special guests, and they see you, they hear you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Good morning to you, Sharon Lungo, right here in Oakland. How are you doing today? And you say, Soraya, who turned 5 this week, I saw the pictures. Happy birthday, Soraya. Mighty 5 years old. Oh my goodness. Yes, hopefully you'll be able to share some insight here today, Sharon, with Victor and of course Amanda, on how you are doing. 5 years. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. Happy birthday to you, Soraya, the sticky spider. Thank you for being here with us. Tori Gamble in Bothell, Washington. How are you doing? Of course, you're joining in with Liana. How are you today? And here's a great story, and hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. Absolutely, right? Thank you so much for those positive vibes. Everybody out there, wishing you a wonderful weekend, coming from Liana and Tori in Bothell. Good morning to you, Terry Kasweka. How are you doing today? And you say, Maiseni, Kwai. Thank you so much for that, taking me back to Zambia. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good morning to you, Abraham in San Leandro. Happy Friday to you indeed. Yes, all the parents joining us today, we're looking forward to your insight and wonderful contributions as we will be talking. Myself, Victor Chavez, and of course, Amanda Waltman later on. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning to you, Amanda, Wes, Sarah, and Nathan in windy and gray Illinois. Well, I have two amazing guests and hope they bring the sunshine to you today. I am sure they will. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning to you out in Illinois, windy and gray. Well, let us take that gray away. Good morning to you, Ellen Edwards, also in Chicago. You're saying chilly. Well, I guess you're going back to winter in Chicago today, in Illinois. I wish you the very best. Find those hoodies, find those jackets. Thank you for joining in. And of course, we have a warm story. Also, definitely one to warm your heart. This one is 10 hugs and kisses. Absolutely what we need right now. Thank you for joining me today. And good morning to you, or is it good evening to you out in Lusaka, Zambia. Salim Pande joining in with Jonathan, Mapalo, and Daisy. And of course, a big hugs to you, Chanda and Pearl as well. I hope school is going well. Thank you so much for being here. Chrissy, how are you doing from Burlington, Vermont? And you're joining in, of course, with Borden. And he says hello to everyone. Well, Borden, good to see you here, buddy. Thank you so much for joining in. And Chrissy, good morning to you as well. Good morning to you, new mom on the block. How are you doing, Christy? Good to see you here. And of course, baby Theo, one of the latest members of the Storytime community. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love it. Thank you. Happy Friday to you. School is out. Feels great. Thank you so much. Good morning to you one more time, Sharon Lungo, and you're joining in. Oh, as well, Corazon is joining in as well, and on summer break. Well, thank you so much for that. Absolutely welcome. Thank you. The more the merrier for sure. Good morning to you, Ingrid, out in Argentina, in Patagonia. How are you doing today? Good to see you here. I hope you're ready for this wonderful discussion that we will be having later on. All right. So for now, we're going to get started with our story and then, of course, bring on our guests. I am excited to introduce them to you, and I'm sure they are excited to share their insight and to learn together with you. Thank you for being here. All right, so we have an amazing book, 10 Hugs and Kisses. Yes. And this one is coming to you from Chronicle Books of San Francisco. A big thank you to them for allowing us to share so many of their great books right here on Storytime. All right, are you ready? Here we go. 10 Hugs and Kisses. One big hug from me to you. Oh. Two happy smiles. Can you smile too? I want to hear your smile since I can't see it. Oh, 3 butterfly kisses. Now let's make a wish. Take that minute. Make a wish. Oh. 4 fishy kisses. Push your mouth like this. 4 fishy kisses. I hope you pushed your mouth the right way. 5 tum-tum tickles. Giggles. Wee! Just the thought of being tickled, I start to laugh. I start to feel ticklish. So 6 lovely cuddles. Happy as can be. Absolutely. And especially for our friends in Illinois right now, I hope the cuddles are keeping you warm. And of course, this book is keeping you warm too. 7 snuggles to show we care. Oh, absolutely. 7 snuggles to show we care. Nothing like a good snuggle to take the pain away. 8 big smoochies blown in the air. Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh. 9 cozy nuzzles before we turn off the light. Oh, How about 10? What do we have on 10? Let's see. 10. 10 big kisses when we say nighty night. Well, there's one big one from me. Mwah! The end. Oh, thank you so much for joining me for that one. 10 hugs and kisses. Definitely one to warm your heart, one to just make you smile, and one to hold those loved ones close to you. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, a big thank you to Chronicle Books for sharing this lovely book with us. I hope you've enjoyed every book that we've had for you this week. And I hope you join us next week for more story time. But for now, I have special guests that I would love to bring on to story time. And to begin with, we have Amanda Wortman. Yes, who usually joins in with baby Bia, and today she's here on story time to share some insight with us. Amanda, welcome to story time.
Hello, are you so excited to be here?
Lovely, lovely. Happy to have you here. So wonderful. And also we have the amazing Victor Chavez. How are you doing, Victor?
I'm doing good, Mr. Limata. Your smile and laugh is infectious.
Oh. Lovely to have you here. Thank you so much. Oh, please tell us a bit about yourselves before we get into questions and more discussion. But yeah, just who is Amanda? Who is Victor?
Amanda is a mom of 2 little girls, baby B, who joins in with me pretty much every day. And she just turned 1 in April. And then big sister Malin is at her Japanese school, and she is 3. And I'm also a business owner. I own a photography studio, and I've had that for the last, my gosh, I did the math. I think it's like 14 years now I've had that.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
And Victor, well, let me just, that's Amanda Wortman Photography right there. And we'll definitely be sharing the links and everything else later on. But yeah, Victor.
Awesome. Yeah, Amanda, congratulations too.
Thank you.
I'll just say I'm a technologist, and we have a new baby boy.
Yes.
Right here with my lovely partner Sita. And he's
Hi, Sita.
He's about to be 13 weeks. So.
Oh, exciting.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm just so happy to have you both. And being parents in the pandemic, how is that?
Weird. Such a different experience the second time around, having Malin during the before times, the normal times.
I love that, the before time.
Exactly. We did so much stuff, and I feel like that has been the biggest change since the pandemic. Is B has definitely not experienced nearly as much as Malin has. So that's been really different. I'm used to carting us around to go on play dates and go to library story times and to go to museums, and just not being able to do that and not having B be around other kids has been really, really different.
Yeah. How about you, Victor? First time parents.
So I don't know any different. And so it's definitely an interesting experience, a double-edged sword of having to kind of look inward and focus on our own immediate surroundings. It's been that in and of itself is challenging anyway, and then to have the experience of pregnancy and then the birth on top of that, and feel a little bit isolated. It's definitely challenging. I think we would definitely be on the move, as Amanda says, a lot more if it was the
open out. Right. No, I love that. It sounds like it should be a children's book right there.
There probably will be. I'm sure somebody's going to be writing that.
But the saying goes, if you sleep like a baby, then you don't have one. How true is that?
My babies don't sleep. Oh my God. Malin finally, at like 2.5, we hired a sleep consultant because we had gone for so long without sleep. And so she's finally sleeping through the night, but not B. She's that 1 year sleep regression hit real hard. So she's napping right now, thank goodness.
Yeah.
We'll see how the rest of the day goes. But yeah, no, both girls have definitely not slept like babies. Have you had any better luck, Victor?
He's just getting to that point where he's becoming conscious and aware of his surroundings. So before that, it was just eat, sleep, poop mode, and that was every 2 to 3 hours, right? The cycle was every 2 to 3 hours,
Yep.
and that's tough. That's a tough place to be, but it's been yes, I definitely envy some of the situations and the depth at which he can sleep. It's pretty impressive.
Good. What has surprised you the most? For you, Amanda, whether it's with Marlon or with Bia, but and for you, Victor, too, like what has surprised you the most with parenting, or what surprised you the most?
You go first, Victor.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think going back to your question of the pandemic, I mean, it's a different. I feel like we are missing out on some experiences which we've gotten tastes of. So, for instance, my aunt and uncle and my cousins visited last week, and that was the first time he had really been held for lengths of time by other people. So just to feel that experience was just really both amazing, and I realized it was yet another thing that I realized. Oh, he probably would have been passed around from person to person before. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of like I'm missing a little bit of context on knowing like how this would go in a normal time. So
How about you, Amanda?
I feel like the biggest thing for me is since I worked with kids for so long, I thought, oh, I got this down. I know what's up. Like I can just put them down for a nap and I'll be able to work and I can get all this stuff done and I'll just, be living my normal life. I'll just be having a kid around. And it was so not like that. So not like that. I did not really understand how needy they really are. They just, and it's, I don't know. And I feel like maybe it's just that Malin became more independent and more of an independent like player a little bit later on, but she was definitely not that way for the first 18 months. So she just wanted to be around mom and dad, like whatever we were doing. She just wanted to be right there, which was great in some respects, but also not great when you're just trying to get some work done or answer an email. And B is proving to be the same way, just not an independent player yet.
You both mentioned three things as you were talking, which I just kind of picked up on. I had some questions on that. Well, one is that, which is a rider to that, for you, Amanda. So do you think Bia's independence was forced on her in a way with younger sister coming?
With Malin. It's funny. No, she started in her Japanese school right when she was about 18 months. And I think that being around other kids without mom and dad there was what ended up prompting more of that independent play. And she also was behind on speech. So I think that her not having a great way to communicate was also really tough. And she started getting more words right around 18 months and 20 months. So then I think she was able to communicate what she needed more. So I think she felt like she could be independent and then come get it if she needed it, as opposed to just needing to be right there for us. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen her change in so many amazing ways since having a little sister. So it's funny. I feel like while she definitely, right? But while she's a good independent player, I definitely am now noticing she's starting to bring in little sister for stuff, which has been really, really fun to see that. And of course, B always wants to be right up in sister's business. So.
And then the other thing you mentioned, Victor, was the pandemic. How has it been being working parents in a pandemic with little ones? Like, has there been any advantage that you've seen, or has there been how has it been?
Yeah, I am amazed at how much time it takes to care for a little one, and having, you know, a little bit of passing back and forth. But I kind of went back to work full time in the house, but Sita is mostly the one taking care of him during the day.
Yeah.
And yet I still feel like, you know, after those hours, or even in between, like I'll take him for stretches at a time, and it's a lot of mental power, and it's a lot of work. And you know, I think back to, oh, that's my mom right there, old picture of my mom.
Oh, that's awesome.
She took care of me by herself, and I'm impressed with that every single day. I think about it every day, like, wow, how did she do this? With and being, and she lived, she actually lived in Chicago. I was born in Chicago. Shout out to the Chicago folks and Illinois folks. I went to Chicago, and I know that weather. But yeah, I just had an aunt recently tell me, my godmother told me that she moved back to California to be with her family, because she was worried about carrying me around in the snow and didn't want. Apparently, I was a big chunker, and so she didn't want to like drop me on a patch of ice or something. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, I didn't know why we moved back. I remember doing it when I was like 3 years old. But
Yeah.
and I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed at single moms, single parents.
Yeah.
That's really what I've been
Yeah.
between my bouts of sleeplessness. You know.
Yeah, and Victor, I appreciate that take on the dad side of parenting right now. But Amanda, how has it been for you, a working mom?
Yeah, it's funny. It's been like, in some ways the pandemic has been kind of beneficial. Like, as far as so my husband works full time, and now that he's been working from home, it's actually been pretty great. I feel like he can, like, if I need to go, you know, meet up with a client, then he can usually work his work schedule around that and take care of B. And we usually kind of trade off who takes Malin into school. And it's been fun. Actually, all four of us have been able to go in to drop Malin off at school, which has been like just kind of neat to be able to do that, which we never would have been able to do beforehand.
Right.
And Nate is definitely getting more time with B and gets to see her more growing up. We were actually talking about that last night, how he felt like he missed out on a lot of Malin when she was a baby, because he'd leave to go to work, and then he'd work late and come home, and sometimes he'd miss bedtime and sometimes dinner, and he hasn't missed any of that with B. So it's been kind of this cool advantage or perk, if you will. While there's been definitely a lot of downsides, that has been one of the upsides for sure, is being able to have both of us be more hands-on with B.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And just also thinking, as you're mentioning that, I mean, you both have partners to support you, and I want to talk about community after this, but just as a, you know, like a thought, and I'm, you know, like, if you need some time to think about it, just let me know. But what does your partner bring to parenting that you don't?
That one's easy for me to Nate is he brings in like that sense of humor, like, to everything. Like, you know, Mal will be putting on her shoes, and so he'll take like his coat and try to put that over his legs and be like, "Oh, am I doing this right?" Like, and she's like, "No, Dad." Like, you know, "Oh, okay, well, maybe, you know, I'll take your sister to school. She can sit in your seat." "No, Dad, no." Like, he just is kind of goofy like that. Or, you know, he'll be like, "Oh, I brought you a popsicle." "Just kidding, it's for me." And, no, like, so he just brings that like sense of humor into everything we do. I tend to be a little bit more of the serious parent. So to have him just interject that fun, like, at random times, it's just whenever. He also he's definitely more of an impulse buyer than I am, and so he buys the kids these cool things that I would have never done, but they're awesome. Like, he just got them this big bouncy house water slide thing.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. And like the girls think it's amazing. And I never would have thought to do that. But he's like, we're at a point where we can do this. And the girls have been stuck inside for the last year. Like, this will be fun to have the cousins over. They can do all this bouncy house stuff and they're going to have a blast. So he just brings so much fun for the girls, which is just amazing. It's so great.
Yeah. How about you, Victor?
Big bouncy water slide thing. That's on my list.
Super cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think he's like kind of excited when like people drive down the street. He's like, yeah, that's right. Look what we got.
Yeah, I can feel that. For me, I can feel that annoyingly goofy, like my kid's gonna get so annoyed with me. I just know. But Sita's amazing. I mean, she's mom. She's exclusively breastfeeding him, so that's huge. I mean, that's a huge burden, and but also, she's told me not to use that word before as well. Like it's a choice, and it's an important development thing, and yeah, she's amazing with him. She's so gentle with him, and I think has really been instrumental in helping him he's already like doing the call and response kind of thing. And I think she's been getting him to do that, and I get to benefit because I chat with him every day, and I'm like, every time I chat with him, I'm like, I just want to cry because I'm like, you're talking. You know?
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like being a parent like turned you into the biggest softie. I was already a pretty soft person anyway, but like, you watch those like little shorts on Disney Plus now, like about parenting, and Nate and I are like in tears, like, oh my gosh, we do love our kids so much. They're amazing. Like, just the smallest thing kind of sets you off. You just realize I don't know how amazing it is. And just that this little being is here. And I don't know, it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And just putting it out there for those of you that are joining us, you can find Victor here on Instagram, and we'll also be telling you where else at the end you can find Victor. Follow him, follow Felix, and see what they're up to. And then you can find Amanda, of course, right here on the Amanda Wortman photo. So please do find them on that and Instagram, and then of course also at Amanda Wortman photo.com. So, but so you both mentioned making decisions, and I'm glad that nobody can see how I wrote doula on here, but but at the time, like deciding, going for supports, did you consider going with a doula? Did you consider going with other supports? Did you consider, going with other like the traditional ways? I don't know if you could call them that. Like, what was it like for you? What was it making those decisions, and what are the advantages that you came up with, that you saw? And yeah, I know it's a loaded question, but just doula or not doula. And I don't know if that question makes sense, but I hope it does.
I don't know. It makes sense to me. It definitely, I feel like Nate was like, whatever you want to do. Like, you're the one who's in it. Just let me know. Like, if you want me to just stand there, if you want me to do all the things, you just let me know. So for Malin, so obviously photography is important to me. I had hired a birth photographer for Malin, and she was also, she'd attended so many births, and she had birthed 5 children as well. So she was kind of like this built-in photographer / doula. So she was like, I can be as quiet as you want, or I can just be as vocal. And I was like, let's bring it. Come on. I've never done this before. Like, you have all this experience and I don't. So it was really cool to have that with Malin. And then with B, just, we had all these plans, and she was born in April of 2020. Yeah. And I think it was about March when they started shutting everything down, and every single doctor appointment was different. Every single one was, okay, you can have Nate be there as long as he, doesn't have a fever. And then it was, well, we don't know if he can even be in the room there. And I was freaking out. I'm like, there's no way I can do this on my own. Like, I need to have a support person there. And then they kind of went back and forth on, okay, you can have 2 people. Okay, no, you can have 1. And finally, it just ended up being that I had to cancel the birth photographer that I had hired for B, which was just like so distressing for me, because also, like, again, it was somebody who has had all this experience, and I thought, oh, great, I can have like a second support person. But you just kind of end up like realizing, okay, here's the hand I'm being dealt. At least Nate can be in there with me. And I just threatened him. I was like, you better not have a fever. If you get a fever, just get it after this baby is born. Like, they're going to take our temperature when we get there. And I just need you to be there for me. So he was awesome. We took a birthing class before Malin, so he had at least some idea of how to help. And then he's just a really good person for on the spot. So anything I needed, he was right there. He was just so supportive. And he actually delivered both girls. So I thought that was really cool to just have him be the first one there with the girls, and then to have him hand them up to me. I thought that was the just most amazing thing. So yes, kind of had a doula sort of for the first one, doula / photographer, and then the second one, Nate was like, I got this. Done it once before, we're good.
Victor, you mentioned your own experience with who was going to go in, or was going to happen.
Pandemic's crazy. So it depended on the hospital that we chose, and so and just on the question of a doula, like, I knew I wanted a doula. Like, I need help. Whatever help I can get, I need some help. And we already had some doulas in our community, so we knew we loved these folks, and we really wanted them in this process. And we actually pulled a doula out of retirement to come help us. And it ended up being really crazy, because we ended up it was a little bit of a process. I really wanted a midwife, and actually Sita, I think, felt safer doing a hospital birth. And then she kind of actually decided through the process that she also wanted the home birth. And so we stuck with the midwife. She was amazing, but then she ended up giving birth. She had to be induced about 4 weeks before the due date, and so we went to the hospital, and it was an experience for sure. And but they were amazing support for us, and even post birth as well. Incredible. So
that's awesome. And what are some of those ways, like, this question also ties into the community piece that I was going to talk about. So how have you built community, or how did you build community for you, Victor, right now in this, as this difficult time that we're in? But then also, Amanda, you having experienced parenting in both the new world and the old. But how has it been? How have you built community? Have you been able to do that?
We had a huge community before the pandemic, and I feel like we've stayed connected in more digital ways and socially distanced home visits, but it's not even a fraction of the interactions that we had before. So it's tough. I mean, we all know we're connected, but I can also see that people are taxed, in their responses. Like, some people that I used to talk to quite regularly at the beginning of the pandemic, I might ask them questions over text now, and they and it's hard for them to respond, to get back to me. And I totally get it. It's like, this has been a long thing. So.
No, and especially since we've been moving. Initially, it was 2 weeks. Oh, after 2 weeks. Oh, after 3 weeks, and then it just kept going. How about you, Amanda? How have you built community?
Yeah, it was, again, so different with Malin. Like, we had play dates, we had, all these different memberships to different, kid museums. And, we just go to a cafe and we meet up with people. And, you walk around the neighborhood and you just see people and end up making friends at playgrounds. And to have the playgrounds shut down, I think was one of the hardest things, because, Malin was wanting to run around and do all the kids stuff. And we had B with us, and just not sure how safe we felt. people met her like through our like front window. Like they'd drop off like meals for us, and then we'd hold her up like Lion King style.
Whoa.
And they would like be on the other side of the window like, hi. So it's great that that our friends and family and community were even willing to do that, and just kind of respect our wishes for, like just trying to follow as many guidelines as we could and listen to our doctors about, hey, have people wash hands or stay 6 feet away, or if you don't know them very well, like, just to keep your distance. But people just kind of rallied. And again, like Victor was saying, you just kind of start talking to people digitally. So we started having like regular like Google Hangouts with some friends that lived far away that actually I think we've kept in better contact since everything's happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely hard. We're lucky enough to live in this awesome neighborhood where everybody's kind of out walking, and we've actually been able to make some new friends like since the pandemic ended up happening, because everybody's just out and walking, and I feel like are so starved for like other human interaction.
Right.
So you're just talking and meeting. And so in that sense, I feel like just even walking around our neighborhood, we've been able to keep up with neighbors we might not have met otherwise. Because again, people are working from home, and so they can take a break to go out for a walk. And so yeah, we've been trying to do as much as possible. It's a little bit easier now that people are getting vaccinated, and I feel like we're feeling safer. Grandparents are coming over to watch B a couple of days a week now, so that feels good. It's like this relief.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because you've had Cindy and Dennis come through, but then Victor, you also had family visit recently. Like, how was that? And Amanda touched on it a little bit. Like, when was that? Like, where you're like, oh, maybe we can take that step now. How was that?
Yeah, it's complicated because the vaccines definitely are a blessing, but there's still a little bit of risk. And yeah, for kids who can't get vaccinated, and especially having a newborn, like one of the things that I experienced early on was an incident where we talked to the pediatrician and we decided to take him to the children's hospital for I don't know. Yeah, it was like a 6-hour experience, and and I just felt the whole time like he was at risk because he was a newborn. He didn't have an immune system. He didn't have his first round of shots. Like, so that was really, really brutal, actually. And then, so even though my family did come, I mean, they had been saying all along when he was born that yeah, kind of what Amanda said about like Lion King style. Like, if we just come visit, they live in Chicago too, and so they came out to visit, and they said if we just stand on the street and wave at you guys and just see the baby from the window, we don't care. Like, we just want to see the baby. So it was amazing support. From that.
Yeah. And then another question that I have for you on there too would be, you mentioned being vaccinated. Like, how was that thinking process like for you in deciding, especially for Sita, and if she's able to, like, let us share, like, how was it for her, for both of you, and for her to make that decision, say, okay, well, you're going to get vaccinated, and knowing that we still have this little one, and there's like the studies are showing, like, and not knowing too sometimes fully how that would affect your child. So what was the thinking in that? How did you deal with that? And Amanda, for you as well, if it's something you want to share on.
Yeah, we actually got vaccinated it was the day before we went to the children's hospital. Sita got a fever and I didn't, and so that's why I went into the hospital with him, because they were only letting in one parent at a time. And it was crazy because when I went in, I was like, oh wow, this is all kids with moms, basically. Like, I was the one dad in the whole place. But and I do have a cousin who's a nurse, and she's been helping us think about the safety protocols, and it's been really instrumental in helping us just decide we should, there was a little bit of a question mark, like should she get vaccinated while breastfeeding, and it seemed like there was at least the hint of data to show that it was safe and that there were antibodies being passed to the baby, even though they don't know necessarily what the impact of that is. At least that was the last thing I heard. And so that was, that was definitely a little, that was a little bit motivating to say, okay, well, we don't know how much of a help this is going to be, but we'll try.
Right. Yeah. You, Amanda, thanks for sharing that, Vic.
Yeah, I know that's totally the same thing, Victor. Like, I definitely feel like because I exclusively breastfeed also. I mean, B is now eating solids, but she's still nursing like regularly, and that was one of my concerns too. We're definitely lucky. Nate's dad is a doctor, and so to be able to talk with him directly about everything that he knew and reading up on studies too. I definitely read that. I'm sure that same study, Victor, about the antibodies being passed down. And as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and do this. I can't get vaccinated soon enough. If there's anything I can do to hopefully make it so that B is just a little bit safer, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh no, that's awesome. And it's just, for everybody that is listening out there too, like those decisions are not easy. Just listening to you both, like as you're making decisions, you're thinking about them, but there's all this thinking and process that is going to go into it. So yeah, I appreciate that. And I think everybody who listening in later on too will do. Like the other thing I wanted to talk about too was the change. How have you dealt, postpartum? And I don't know how this affects you, Victor, but if Sita is there and wants to share, absolutely. Like, how are you dealing with, and how have you dealt with changes in body, changes in, like things like that? Like, if you feel down, what gets you up? And if, like, how do you manage to keep that balance? I know you have partners, but what other things are there that maybe help you stay rooted, stay grounded?
That was a big question. I was fortunate. I didn't have any of the postpartum depression that a lot of women experience. I definitely had like just the whole flood of emotions. So I feel like definitely lots of ups and downs. Like I would look at B and just start sobbing. I'd look at Malin and just start sobbing, thinking about like, oh my gosh, her whole life is now changed because we've decided to have a second baby. And so she now is going to have this whole different life experience than she would have had she been an only child. And so, then just crying about, did we do the right thing? Is this going to be okay? How are the girls going to get along? Are they going to love each other? Are they going to, you just go through all that stuff. And it's been weird. I'm still not used to my postpartum body at all. I was a half marathon runner. I was a hockey player. I did all this stuff before having the girls, and I just haven't been able to get back to that yet. And so it's weird to not feel like 100% myself. And honestly, I'm not, I don't think I'm ever going to feel like that same person, because parenthood just changes you so much. But I'm definitely looking forward to when B's a little bit older and I can finally start getting back to the things that I can do that is just not going to, it just can't happen right now. So having to just kind of, talk to myself about, this isn't forever. This is just, we're going to get back to me being able to be on a more regular schedule. I can get back to playing sports. I can get back to doing all these other things. So it's just kind of trying to give myself some pep talks. And luckily, lots of friends and supportive people in my life that also are there to say hey, we've been there. Yes, you lose yourself for a while, but then you come back to who you are. And so work definitely helps though too. Getting back to work makes me feel a little bit more myself, because I had my business for so long. I really missed all my clients and all the little kids that I've been photographing since they were little. So getting back to that at least feels a little bit more like I'm getting a piece of me back.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Victor?
I'm working on my dad bod right now. I think there's an association that people have with birth and sugar. Like, we got so many donuts and cookies right at the beginning. It was amazing. And I was like, this is not healing at all, but man, it's delicious. So, anyway, that's just my take. I'll let Sita herself.
Sita, welcome.
My midwife, as I had severe preeclampsia that came out of nowhere, as it tends to do. And my midwife, who fortunately at that point was led into the hospital, gave me some really good advice. And she was like, look, you can do anything for a while, She's like, think about how many bad relationships you were like, I'll just stick around a little longer. You have a baby, and that's way more amazing than any idiot.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
Like, that's really good advice, you know. And it was like, yes, like that just one day at a time. I think where the overwhelm sets in, you know, for me, I think so many of us is like this question of like, well, how long is this going to last, right? Like in terms of the pandemic, like, is this, you know, because it's 2 weeks at a time, it's a month at a time, then it's you know, years at a time. And so, you know, just bringing my midwife is Christian Grazier, and Melvin Escobar is a therapist actually that works with our collective, and he always talks about this future tripping, and he's like, you're future tripping, you know, and just kind of this like, you know, and it's hard because it's a fine line between dreaming and freaking out.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes hold on to our dreaming selves, and then also how do we, you know, notice when we're future tripping and just bring ourselves back from that edge. So you know, I think postpartum wise, that's what it's been. It's, you know, it's been like, okay, we're good, and I'll hit something, it'll be a health thing or, you know, a something, and it'll just be overwhelmed. Right. And it's like, how do you call yourself back from that precipice? I think has been my it's been my postpartum challenge, really.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that's where the community piece of it comes into it, you know, and I think it's always hard because in those moments it's when you least want to respond to the call that others give you, and it's the point at which you most need to answer, you know, that call, and so
no, that's awesome. And I know, Sita, I know of your work. I know you do so much, and I know you're doing something cool this Sunday. Would you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you. I'm speaking this Sunday at Glide in San Francisco. Well, online. Glide is online until it's safe for everyone to rejoin the celebrations. But I'll be speaking about belonging as survival. And so a lot of these kind of ideas of community, of pandemic, of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, of the intersections of a lot of different things. You know, and it's a place for anyone who doesn't know. I mean, it's a really historic church, community center, direct services. I know them because I would take my students from California College of the Arts to volunteer in their free food program. Mm-hmm. And they fed, I think, 800,000 meals last year.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's amazing.
Incredible. So they provide really critical support, and it was just. You know, just thinking about also just how this pandemic has made everything more neon, like everything that we're feeling and experiencing that much, you know, so, and, you know, I keep thinking, and we have both a lot of, I think, privileges, and, you know, we also have our own challenges too, but like to be hungry in pandemic as a breastfeeding mother is unfathomable to me, you know, like, I mean, you just, for anybody who's ever breastfed, it's like, you just get this hunger that's just like so, you know, the community organizations that are providing that kind of support, I just, you know, I think it's like critical, it's like the adds a layer of kind of urgent to the critical.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that, but also just, you know, like, how cool is that picture? I love it. That is awesome. So yeah, if you can, please join Sita on. Was this be open to anybody who would like to join in?
It's on there. It's just Glide SF on Facebook. So they also similar to your program. Just log on.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, definitely be sharing so that people can find that. You know, you know, I'm sure there's so many things we could talk about, and there's so many things that, you know, that I can't even fathom, right? I can't even like begin to wrap my head around. So what is it that, you know, like you would want to share, something maybe that we haven't touched on that you would want to share with people out there, new parents, even older parents, maybe, you know, like what is it that, what have you found success in, or where do you feel more successful? And then also, you know, like, how do you deal with those moments when you're like, well, maybe I need to lean on somebody else.
Yeah, for me, it was like just learning to accept help, which I'm still learning. I feel like as a very independent person who's kind of always prided myself in being very independent, having to really admit I can't do all of the things, and just accepting when somebody's like, hey, I'm going to come over and help, or even when Nate's like, you're struggling, let me take over, you go take a break, and just realizing it's okay to do that and to not be able to do everything. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How about you guys? Sita, Vic?
Yeah, I will definitely echo that sentiment that it's hard to ask for help. And I think I noticed that Jill is on this, Jill Kunishima is on this, is connected today. And I think when we got home from the hospital, she was like, what do you need? And dropped off food like immediately. And I was like, dang, that's amazing. I think she's done that like multiple times. And we've had people do that many, many times at this point, and it's amazing. And the other thing that for me that I knew I wanted was before he was even born, I got together with three other dads, me being a dad to be, one other dad to be, and then two other dads that had actually, well, I guess they both had one and two kids, and we just decided to meet weekly basically and talk about all kinds of dad related stuff, and it's
cool.
been really enlightening and supportive to have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sita?
Yeah, I mean, going back to actually, it occurred to me when you were asking about vaccinations and things. And
Yeah.
I think in life, even pre-parenting, I just had, and it was actually about my own relationship with my parents is, can I say that I've done the best that I could with everything that I knew and had at that time, and I think that also in my relationship with my parents, like I can look at them and say, yes, like they did everything they knew how with the resources that they had to make sure, for me. And so, and that's the way that I feel about the vaccine too. It's like, it makes me a little nervous, but with the information that we have,
Right.
and the resources and, and to be honest, the privilege that we have in this country to think of also, having family both in Latin America and in India, it's really close to home in terms of that access. But I just I think that also, you talked about that precipice, and if I can remember at those moments, like, am I doing everything I can? And some things, doing everything you can is this much instead of this much.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
But if I can know that for myself, if I can feel that for myself, I think it helps me calm and helps me ground. Because I think the other thing is I had some fantasy that I was gonna have a kid, and all of a sudden we weren't gonna have any clutter in the house. I was gonna suddenly manage to make meals, in 45 minutes. And I'm an artist, right? So I'm like, hoarding going on. So, and I kind of realized through the pregnancy, oh right, I'm still myself, both in the flaws and
but I said some acceptance there, which I really love.
Yeah, so I think part of this is also just kind of being like, okay.
Oh no, thank you for sharing that. Also, as I was talking to you, Amanda, you had mentioned using the cloth diapers.
Oh yeah.
I was saying we call them nappies, but so how do you why did you decide that, and how is it? Because I remember growing up, if my cousin Rachel is watching, I'm sorry Rachel, but she's now a mom, but I remember myself and my cousin Vincent, we would be the ones, put it on the faucet, and so it would wash down the initial cloth, and then you could wash them. But it was a learning experience. It was, love it so much. And but yeah, so it was just find somebody who was like, I chose to do that. I was like, wait a second, what?
You chose to do that? That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. Well, so Nate and I we made a decision based on really just learning about the environmental impact that just we're having in general. So Nate and I made a very conscious decision to start cutting back on just our plastic use, our waste, and we are fortunate enough to live in an area where they actually have it's called baby diaper service, and they launder all of the dirty cloths for you. So we just put them in a pail, and at the end of the week, we wrap them all up and stick them outside. And our lovely diaper delivery man, Don, brings us our new bag every week. It's definitely a little bit of a learning curve, but honestly, they are. Once you learn how to do all the folds correctly, then it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
So, but again, we're also fortunate that I'm not the one who's having to like run anything under any faucets or doing any of that. It's just wrap it up, stick it in a bin, and put it outside.
What has been your experience dealing with diapers, Victor? I've seen that beautiful video, beautiful pictures of the face. I wish I'd put it up so I could share it. But it's just like, how has it been for you?
He's been doing this thing recently where he'll go a few days without pooping, and it's so it's kind of we kind of like celebrate when that might be a little family training there. Aunties and uncles. Anyway, we actually
We had both.
We had we had compostable diapers as well as cloth diapers, and I think we started with the cloth first, and I think that was really challenging because he was going so often, and it was a lot to keep up with. So I wish we had done something more like disposable first and then switch to cloth later, because I think we would have been more able to persevere. But now we just do the compostable.
No.
Isn't that insane? Do you guys do it through diaper?
Yeah.
Because like say diaper is the other compostable one.
Yeah.
The company is Earth Baby.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But we use diapers.
Yeah, like the DYP we use those whenever we travel.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Such great insight. And just before we go, Amanda, where can people find you? And
it's funny. I definitely feel like I had far more of a social media presence before kids. So you can find me on Instagram the most. I definitely don't post as much as I used to, but in my stories, I usually will put up stuff with B and Malin because it's fun. But yeah, there's my website. So yeah, those are the two places I am the most, my website and on Instagram.
Nice. And then Sita, I know we have the big event happening. How about you? How can people join in? Where can we find this event?
Glide streams on Facebook on their page and also on YouTube. So you can join either place there. Would love to see if you don't know about Glide. It's just a really amazing and open community space, and also I'm part of People's Kitchen Collective. And our next kind of public-facing event isn't until October, but it's part of the Life is Living Festival, where we honor the Black Panther program for self-defense, free breakfast for school children. So keep an eye out for that too. peopleskitchencollective.com, Instagram, and on the web.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you so much for coming in and sharing, those heartfelt experiences, because I've learned so much just from listening to you even before this today, and just I appreciate it, and I hope that everybody out there, I believe strongly that everybody out there really benefits from just knowing those little things, whether like just doing something differently, or even just knowing that there's somebody else out there going through the experience and making it right. And even though like Sita, like you said, even though it might feel like this that little victory, but it's still something. So yeah, no, appreciate you so much, and I'll catch you on the other side in a second. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for joining in today. That was Amanda Wortman joining us all the way out from Seattle. And then, of course, right here in Oakland, Sita and Victor. And please do join in. Look out for all the posts on the events that are coming up, especially the one that Sita will be doing on Sunday. So please do join in and you'll be able to see that and keep an eye out for those posts. Thank you to both of them, or all three of them right now, who came on and shared such great insight. And I hope that you were able to learn a thing or two, and of course can pass it on. It's just not for you or your information, but you can pass it on to your cousins, your relatives, your friends, somebody else that needs to hear this. So thank you so much for joining in today, and of course for joining Storytime this week. I hope you enjoyed every book that we've read for you, and we'll be back again next week with more stories. Please, if you have recommendations, do remember you can send me those recommendations. Just send a message either on Instagram or Facebook, and I will definitely try and get them here on Storytime. Thank you so much. Wishing you love and hugs and kisses that we're talking about today. I hope that you and your loved ones have a wonderful weekend, and that we're back here together. Inshallah, we're back here together on Monday and enjoy a beautiful story. Thank you so much for joining me. Much love, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
We'll be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be